Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Enlightenment Podcast. Today we have a great discussion. We're going to discuss astrology and numerology and how it connects with the soul. Before we get started, I want to introduce the panel. So we're going to start with Mr. Symbion. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, everybody. Name is Symbion, but my real name is Orlando Johnson. All right here in Houston, Texas. I'm excited about being a part of the podcast today. It's going to be very energetic. Looking forward to it.
Good deal, Orlando. How are you doing? Oralite?
I'm absolutely blessed to be here. Very content. From Arizona, currently in Atlanta. And I'm just happy. I'm just living in the moment.
Okay, good deal. And Mr. Santos Bonacci, how are you today?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to get into the topic of astrology and numerology and how it connects with the soul. Now, me growing up as a Christian, this was astrology and anything that wasn't a part of what they call the Bible or wasn't seen in the Bible by Christianity, it was kind of demonized. So me growing up in the Christian community, I didn't know anything about astrology and numerology. So the reason for me doing this panel is to kind of show people or mend this gap or this division that has caused people not to be able to see the things, the Bible clearly, or the things that's in the Bible clearly. So I want to talk about this topic a little bit today. And I want to ask Sheiks or Oralite.
Yes.
Can she explain to me a little bit about astrology and what it means to her?
Astrology and what it means to me. Well, what I've learned so far about astrology is that we all have a connection with not only the stars, but the energy that make up the stars, like the galaxies, just everything beyond. I feel like we are connected to it. And wherever we was born, the time we was born, I just feel like that all has to do with our journey here on life. And like the stars guide us. It's different things in the stars that's connected to us that communicate and just kind of direct us while we living in this physical plane. And I just feel like it's the voice, like it's a voice that we can tap into that's always around.
Okay, so how is this connected to our soul? Mr. Santos, if you don't mind answering this question, how is the astrology and numerology, how does this connect to us, to our inner being?
Well, it's all about energy, and as above, so below, so within, so without. The stars are actually the celestial circuit board of our bodies. So our bodies correspond to circuitry that was available when we were born. So the planets on the ecliptic, that's one zodiac, and then there's another zodiac much beyond that zodiac, which is the stars, the actual constellations. So there's two zodiacs, and both of those affect the body because that's the dynamics and the configuration of the heaven above when we're born. So we inherit those as thoughts, and we cannot escape that. It's impossible.
Good deal. So is the astrological charts, are these things 100% accurate? Mr. Santos?
You're talking to me? Yeah, of course.
And how can we know this for sure?
One needs knowledge. Once you do a little bit of study in astrology and understand how the chart works, even basic information, you'll see that it's definitely, it speaks volumes about the native individual. It speaks volumes. In fact, you can learn everything from astrology. It's just about, the matter is just about knowing how to read everything. There's not an astrologer alive who knows how to read everything about the chart. If we all the astrologers around the world pooled all of their knowledge, we would know how to understand everything about astrology and how it relates to the individual. But we have only very, very partial information, and it's astounding how much we know about the science of astrology and how accurate it is with the very little consciousness that we do have.
So, Orlando, what does astrology mean to you?
I think Mr. Santos pretty much covered everything that I was going to say. You know, as above, so below. I think that everything is a reflection of itself in us, through us, by us, consciousness, or God existing, or God being consciousness, connected to the universe being connected to us through astrology or cosmology, and how everything that happens in the heavens affects us on this physical planet. So I feel like as it relates to astrology, it's very important to us. Just like every month is a representation of a certain sign, although I believe everybody has to go through these different signs pretty much every day or every month. But they definitely have a huge, huge impact on us as far as our energy, as Mr. Santos said.
Now, like I said at the beginning, me dealing with Christianity growing up, and none of this has been talked about. You know, I'm pretty much just learning about astrology in the last year or so, because I always shied away from it, because I was taught not to deal with it. But as I got into it, I see it. I can see that it relates to my life and all my experiences that I've had in life. It relates to all of my experiences. So, Mr. Santos, if you don't mind telling me, how can we get the religious groups to understand that astrology is really something good and not bad?
Well, they first need to realize that the Bible is an astrological treatise. Everything about the Bible is astrological. That's why the numbers 7 and 12 feature so heavily in the Bible. 12 is the signs of the zodiac, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 disciples of Jesus, the 12 loaves of bread on the table of offering in the temple, the 12 trees that give their fruits in the paradise of Revelation, the 12 pillars in the temple of my God. These pillars are the 12 houses of astrology. There's no doubt about that. This is why in the book of Job, in Job 38:32, God says to Job, can you tell forth the Mazzaroth? And Mazzaroth is, unfortunately, it's one of these words that don't get translated into English, because if it did, then all the Bibles will expose themselves clearly. Because why would God say, can you, talking to Job, a faithful worshipper of God, can you tell forth the zodiac? So why is this the only word in the Bible, in the Hebrew scriptures, 39 books thereof? Why is this one word, and God demanding that we all understand the Mazzaroth and know how to tell forth its season as it goes round and round? Why don't they just translate that to zodiac so we all know what it is? Because it's the zodiac. So God is saying, are you an idiot, or are you wise in that you know how to tell the zodiac and astrology? See, many half-cocked, half-witted Bible students that go to church, they believe that God condemns astrology, but you won't find God condemning astrology anywhere in the Bible. God does condemn astrologers and diviners and prophets, but he's always condemned his prophets. And astrologers deserve to be condemned because they've forgotten their science and they teach it erroneously. They don't teach it naturally. They teach it in a contrived manner for their own purposes, not for the purposes of others. And so a prophet, a diviner, a sorcerer, an astrologer, all these are the same thing. This is why the Bible's full of astrology. Jacob has a dream about his 12 brothers, then he bows down to his 12 brothers. You know, it's all dealing with the ecliptic and the signs that are on the ecliptic. So if we are not equipped to know the Mazzaroth, then we are not God's servants. So it's an obligation on us to know the starry heavens, and to tell forth the Mazzaroth. We have to be good at telling forth Mazzaroth. Now, I learn about Mazzaroth every day, so I'm a faithful, good student of the Holy Scriptures. Those who say, oh, it's from the devil, well, they've misunderstood their own scriptures, because it would be akin to saying that when Jesus said, woe to you lawyers, for you have bound these little children with great letters which you do not wish to budge yourselves. He was condemning the lawyers, not the law. Right. So it would be tantamount to them saying, oh, law is, we should never, respect the law because Jesus condemned lawyers. Well, Jesus said, I came not to destroy the law, I came to fulfill the law. So when we see in the Bible that diviners and prophets and all these servants of God, astrologers, are condemned, that's because they deserve to be condemned, because they're not telling the truth and they don't know how to interpret and tell forth Mazzaroth, whereas we should. And nature tells us that we should. I mean, there are the stars. They are a part of the nature. We are a part of the nature. The more knowledge you have, the better. Why should you block your knowledge of nature? It's common sense. I mean, common sense itself tells you that we should be experts in all science and not be ignorant of any.
Wow. So, do you think this was intentionally done? You know, to keep...
Yes, it is intentionally done. Most of it is intentionally done because the modus operandi of Rome, the ruler of this world, the ruler of empire, knows that you have to connect people from nature's remedies. It's important that people stay in debt and sick. Those are the two conditions of slavery that Rome has established. Keep the people sick with pharmaceuticals and nothing natural. Whereas God's law says, eat some dandelion, have some parsley, have some aloe vera, and we used to know through astrology what plants were beneficial to us. And now, because we believe it's from the devil, we would rather go to the doctors who are mainstream and academic and officially supported and endorsed by the system, knowing full well that if we don't resort to nature's remedies, we will be sick. And so look around, we see, all these churchgoers who think they're serving the Creator, and at the same time they are shunning God's creation, which is the stars and the language that the stars speak, and doing a disservice to themselves. And look at them, they look sick. People look sick. Real astrologers and real herbalists, they look healthy and they look happy. And so what they've done is they've caused us to shun God's nature and natural remedies. And it is deliberate. It's definitely deliberate because there's no money when people have, there's no way to profit when people have their own source of money and their own source of health and can look after themselves.
Okay, so was it because of the conscious state of the world at that time, or was the conscious state going down to a level to where, people begin to do certain things that was really out of the nature of where it was beforehand?
It's a bit of both, if you're asking me. Yeah, it's a bit of both. Both deliberate from the top from the rulers and controllers, and indirectly from the bottom, from people forgetting and being neglected. Supposedly the higher castes, like the Jews and the Hebrews and the Brahmins and the philosophical caste, are supposed to be good, faithful and discreet slaves and administer the appointed meat or the appointed food at the right time. But they have failed to do it. So the aristocratic class have been in decline for a couple of thousand years and have suffered and have neglected to teach the lower classes and keep them schooled and wise in the sciences. So, you know, I mean, the decline in wisdom and the great higher sciences comes from both the top and organically from the bottom. So we can rectify that by studying it and informing ourselves, because we can bring a change from organically from below.
Good deal. Appreciate that, Mr. Santos. Orlando, what do you think is the issue with the churches not understanding the astrology that we need to, or they need to?
I think, me personally, I feel that it's a fear thing. I think that they're afraid of going to that next level. That means they would have to possibly leave their traditional ideology about God and about church. And, they only know that one way, and that's to be able to kind of all conjugate together and being in that one particular style of worship or that one particular style of understanding God, instead of going to the next level within their spiritual, within themselves, which is, the spiritual identity of who they truly are and how they're connected to everything. So what I mean is, it seems like the moment that you begin to talk about nature and not the Holy Ghost, it's kind of a distraction, or it seems to be kind of a disconnect from somebody who's really kind of caught into the religious sector of trying to understand their God. The way I see God now is God is in all, through all, by all, connected from from cosmology down to the third dimension or to the physical plane. So when you kind of start talking this kind of verbiage to somebody who's in Christianity or into whatever sect of religion they're in, it's all foreign to them. And so it automatically goes into a part in their mind where they kind of either go into defense mode, or, you sound demonic, or you sound like you're lost, or, it's, I think it's just a fear thing. They're just afraid to go to that next level. And I think a lot of it is because, like Mr. Santos said, it's because we don't have enough teachers out here that's able to teach this side of spirituality to people, so that they can begin to embrace it and actually shift the entire consciousness for every religious sector or anybody that's within religion, period.
Yeah, Sheiks?
I kind of feel like it's just too hard. Like, really, when I think about religion, it just seemed like an easy thing to do. Like, you just go to church, do the same thing over and over. You let go of things that are supposed to, go and fast. A lot of people talk about fasting and letting go of things that they feel like they're addicted to, that's like keeping them away from God. And that's like a major thing in the church, I feel like, where people feel like, after I fast, I've paid my dues, I've done one of the hardest things that I need to do. So I don't know, I kind of just feel like religion is just like a secondary type thing nowadays. Like, everybody's so focused on, everything else that's catching their attention, like shopping or, what's on TV or sports. And it's just like, okay, everybody kind of knows, like, some people deny God, but then it's just something that you feel, and it's just like, okay, we have to do this, we have to pray, we got to go to church or do this to seem like we're good people or we're doing the right thing. But when it really comes down to really getting close to God and really seeking our purpose, and, you know, that's just like too much. Like, you know, the pastor tell you what your purpose is, you know, do this or do that. And that's pretty much it. Like, as far as being kind to people and really just kind of loving wholeheartedly and having compassion, it's like, you know, around the holiday times, a lot of people like do what they supposed to do and like act nice and have this, you know, jolly spirit. But it's like, when you really love, and I really think that God is love, just like you would care about people all the time, you know?
Exactly.
And,
so pretty much it came a tradition now.
yeah.
You have to do that. You know, people, they just don't know. You know, they from the womb, they're taught this. Hey, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do it this way.
Yeah, and if you say anything else, it can really offend someone. Like, you know, if you try to suggest something or, well, tell them what you're doing or how you're living your life or what you're pursuing, it might offend them because they don't understand that. And they're like, well, what makes you think that you can be into something like that? You know?
Right. But I think, me personally, I think religion has its purpose, but I think it's meant to share some stories, and then at a later time, you know, they're supposed to expand from those stories. You know, just to give them a little basis of what's really taking place. You know, just like a lot of fairy tales. You know, you tell you a story, and like Santa Claus, they tell you a story about Santa Claus, and then when the kid gets older, they say, oh, well, Santa Claus really wasn't real. You know, it's really something else. You know, so, you know, I think it has its place, but people are, you know, staying in that religion for, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And I guess it's because of the people that's teaching them. They don't want them to leave. You know, when they the ones that's supposed to be teaching them and saying, okay, you must go to another level, or showing them another level. So, Antoinette, the same question to you. I know you just jumped in. What do you think? Did you hear the question?
Repeat it again.
Okay, what do you think? I know you from Christianity, but why do you think the church, any religious group, why do you think that they don't deal with astrology and numerology within, you know, the churches or within their teaching? Or why do they demonize it?
Right. Well, usually anytime you accumulate a certain amount of knowledge, whether it's church or education or at home, it actually becomes embedded inside of you. And so it's not just what you know, it's actually a part of who you are. And so when you present something that's way beyond that, you're not just challenging what they think and how they life. You're actually challenging who they are, because it is so close to their heart. And religion is something not just in their mind, but it's something very close to their heart. So when you challenge who they are, they tend to reject it. I do think there is a little bit of fear involved as well. But when you start talking about someone's personality or someone's identity, it just goes beyond, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? Because now you're saying, who I thought I was, I am not that. So it just takes them on a higher level to have to be open-minded enough to consider a holistic approach or a comprehensive approach to life. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Mr. Santos, if you don't mind answering this question, how does this connect with our inner being, the astrology? I mean, how can we, you know, connect the two? You know, I know we're here for soul growth. You know, we're here on this planet that we call, or this body that I call it, that we call Earth. And we're here for soul growth. So how can we use astrology and numerology to help our soul to expand and grow?
Well, first of all, we should learn numerology from the sacred scriptures. The Bible is the most profound numerological book there is. This is why 7 and 12, other numbers like 40, 30, 33, all of these great numbers appear in the scriptures. And so we find that the Bible is replete with expressions of numbers. 4, 3, the Trinity, 1. 1 expresses unity. It expresses male energy. 2 expresses doubling on the positive side. On the negative side, it expresses division, and that's Eve, and the feminine energy. All even numbers, Eve, are feminine, and all odd numbers, Adam, are masculine. So masculine numbers can't be divided, and feminine numbers are all divided, or doubling. That's why Eve is the mother of the world, because the number 2, doubling, increase, is what a woman does. She gets pregnant, she gives child. That's the number 2. And so really encrypted in the scriptures are these wonderful numbers. And Adam represents 1, and so does God. And all of his creation, Eve, even numbers, represent matter, mother, matter, material. And so we should learn from the scriptures, from the Bible. There's no better book for numerology than the Bible. And you will also fall in love with the beautiful numbers in the Bible. When you look at your body is made up of 12s and 7s. There are 12 systems in the body, 12 cranial nerves, 12 nerve endings in the solar plexus, 7 chakras, 7 caverns in the brain, 7 caverns in the heart, 7 orifices of the body. So this is the temple of soul of man, Solomon. Solomon consists of 2 words, solo and mono. Solo is the sun, Sol Invictus, and mono is the moon. Solo is the word for alone in Latin. Mono is the word for alone in Greek. So you've got the temple of Solomono, built by Hiram Abiff. Hiram is Aries. Aries is the cerebrospinal system. The ram is the cerebrum. Aries rules the top of the head, Taurus rules the bottom of the head, and the cerebellum, the cerebellum, the lower mind. And so Hiram, the builder of the temple of Solomon, soul of man, is Aries. It's the Lamb of God that sits on top of your head. Hence in Revelation 14:1, where it says, "And look, and I saw and I heard, and I saw the Lamb standing upon Mount Zion with 144,000, singing a new song." Well, again, 144,000, that's numerology. When you add up all the petals of the chakras in your body, they add up to 144. So the bottom chakra has 4 petals. The second one has 6. The solar plexus 10. The heart chakra 12. The throat chakra 16. And the pineal gland 96. You add those numbers of the bottom 6 chakras, comes to 144. When you multiply it by the crown chakra, which is the 1,000-petaled lotus, 1,000 times 144 comes to 144,000. So the Lamb of God is Aries, standing upon Mount Zion, which is the spinal column. You see Ganesh there, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Ganesh is, if you look at the top of Ganesh, you see the crown. That's the crown chakra. And the ears are the 2 lobes of the cerebrum. And the trunk is the spinal cord. So everything, the Holy Land is in your body. Please check out my YouTube presentation called The Holy Land is in Your Body, and another one called Secret of Secrets, The Elixir of Life Hiding in Your Body. And you will see in many of my astrotheological presentations, you will see how I explain that the body is the Holy Land. Hiram Abith, the builder of the temple, is the Hiram, Aries, in the top of the head. Hence you get all of these Hero, Pharaoh, Herod, Jerusalem, hieroglyphs, Hiram. It's all Holy Land. And the Lamb is the first sign of the zodiac on the top of the head. And being first, it's the number one. Again, numerology. Oneness is in here. Oneness happens here. 2 is Taurus, and it has to do with doubling. And so in astrology, the second house has to do with wealth. The first house has to do with you. I am. The motto of Aries, I am. The motto of Taurus, the mouth, where you eat, is I have. So it deals with possessions, what you eat, your sustenance, your substance, your wealth, your material resources. Then the third house comes to Gemini and communication. You communicate with your hands. And so the twins, there they are. They look pretty the same, don't they? Would you say that that hand is a twin of that hand?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's... I'll just show you that. See, this is the beautiful science of astrology. There's Aries. I am number one. Unity in the head. Unity consciousness. Taurus. There's the twins. The two arms, the two lungs. Gemini rules the breathing, the lungs, the twin lungs. Cancer is the chest. Leo, the heart, the lion heart. Lion heart? Interesting. Virgo, the belly. Libra, in the middle of the sine wave, in the middle of the body. Scorpio, the generative system. Sagittarius, the hips. Hence, Hippo, the horse. Sagittarius is a horse. Hippo is a horse. Your hips are ruled by Sagittarius. There's no mistakes about this temple and soul of man. Capricorn is the kneecaps, or the knees, cap, and the bones. Aquarius is the shins. Pisces is the feet. So what we have here is the 7 levels of consciousness, the 7 chakras, and we see how this is Mount Zion, and there's the cerebrum, the lamb standing upon Mount Zion with 144,000, all the numbers of these petals, and in here is where the crucifixion of Christ happens, you see. When we raise our cerebrospinal fluids all the way up through our chakra systems, and we pierce the chakra's level of consciousness, when we come to the third eye here, which is the pituitary body, or it's the pituitary body, we activate all the dormant brain cells in the cerebrum, and so that's what raising the Christ means. Raising the Christ means raising the Christic cerebrospinal oils so that they come up to the middle of the head and where the medulla oblongata is. And so at the top of the medulla oblongata, 2 nerves cross called the vagus nerves. And it looks like a cross. There's a cross in the middle of your head. When the oil exceeds that point, it gets crucified. So Jesus, at the 33rd vertebrae, gets crucified. And the 33rd vertebrae is called Atlas. So the very last bone on top of your Mount Zion is actually called Atlas, and it holds the globe of your head up so that you can do this. That's Atlas, moving my head, the last vertebrae. And when the oil goes up through the the nervous system and the Ida and the Pingala and the Shushumna, and it arrives at the top, gets crucified. Joseph and Mary, the progenitors of the fluid, the pineal gland, Joseph, the pituitary gland, Mary, the virgin, they are the ones, those two glands, they differentiate the oil when it proceeds from the claustrum. The claustrum is just under the cerebrum, and that's where all the cerebrospinal fluids come from. Your body is built by that oil that comes from the claustrum. And it's called chrism, or Christ. So the Christ is within, as Colossians 1:27-28, the Apostle Paul teaches, the Christ and the glory of the Christ within. When we raise that Christ and lift up the Son of Man, we are born again.
So when does this fluid come down?
All the time.
It comes down all the time.
Yeah, the claustrum is called the Holy Claustrum, or the Santa Claustrum. So Santa Claus, who lives at the North Pole, just under the fontanelle here, the fontanelle corresponds with Aquarius. So in your head you have a zodiac, just as you have a body. Okay? The head zodiac is this. Aries rules the forehead. Taurus rules the eye and the eyebrows. Gemini is the twin nostrils. Cancer, the teeth, the bite. Hence the claws of the crab. Leo, the chin. Virgo, the neck. Libra, the scales, the two olives at the back of your head, the two pyramids. There's two pyramids here and two olives. And the olives pertain to the Garden of Gethsemane, the Garden of Olives, where Jesus has to go through the Garden of Olives in Gethsemane before he gets crucified. It's all in your head. This is Golgotha, where Calvary, where Jesus is crucified, is the head, the cranium, Golgotha. And then Sagittarius is here. Capricorn is your ears. Hence you wear rings of Saturn on your ears, because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Capricorn rules the hearing. The sun rules the eyes. You see with the sun and you hear with Saturn. And then you come around, after Capricorn, you come to here, the fontanelle. That's the little hole in the top of your head where all the energy comes through your Taurus field. So that's Aquarius pouring in the waters of spiritual in here. And then Pisces is these little two tufts here, the two fish. That's these two little circular parts here of your head, and then back to Aries. So the claustrum, the North Pole is here. So Santa Claus, the Santa Claustrum, is always sending gifts. The cord is 18 inches long in a man, 17 inches long in a woman. And so that spinal cord, 18, is exactly half of a yard. It's the yardstick in your body. When you read scripture in Revelation where St. John is measuring the temple of Jehovah with his measuring stick, that's it's the spinal cord, because it's exactly 18 inches long. And so it is the measuring stick of the temple. And so when Santa Claus, the chrism, drives down that, it comes to, sorry, I'll grab this again. The oil comes from the claustrum. There's the, I'm sure I've got it written here somewhere. There it is, claustrum. There's the claustrum. It's a little closet. It's another word for closet or cloister. Claustrum, Santa Claus. So that's the North Pole where Santa, he goes down, and the fluid is always here in the this chakra here, which is the corresponds to Scorpio, the generative system, the uterus, the testes. This is the bottom chakra at the anus. Here is the solar plexus. This is Virgo. This is the breadbasket. So every month when the moon transits your sun sign, that oil in a man is converted into semen. And it's also from that oil, from that sperm, there is born in the solar plexus, in both the man and the woman. This is a womb that both men and women have. We both have this womb. A psychophysical germ is born every month in the breadbasket in Bethlehem. This is why Jesus is so tender in the nativity scenes, because when the moon transits your sun sign, in my case Aries, when the moon is in Aries, my womb, the solar plexus, is getting a seed, psychophysical germ planted. And if you look after that seed, that baby Jesus will grow, go through the heart chakra. That's why Jesus of the Sacred Heart is always pointing to his heart, saying, you have to come through here, baptized in the River Jordan. And when you get baptized in the River Jordan, then you can go up through the blue throat chakra, and Virgo rules the neck. Remember we said that? Virgo rules the neck because she is the mother that we have to pray to and go through to get to God. That's the mother. Virgo is the queen of heaven, and she rules the throat chakra. Once you get through there, these nerves here, they all cross here where the cerebellum is. That's the cerebellum of Taurus. That's the cerebrum of Aries above. And this is where the crucifixion happens. And once that happens, once the oil arrives at this place and is crucified, there is a darkness of 3 days, or a rest of 3 days. And after the 3 days, Jesus is entombed here in the fornix, the Christ. And then after 3 days, it is restored and all the dormant brain cells are reactivated. And usually these are people who have a halo. You can see a glow, a golden glow coming from their heads because they're vitalized. And the pineal gland then commences to secrete a supercharged dimethyltryptamine, and it's called the blood of the Christ. And this fluid now, this secretion, purifies the blood and cleans the nervous system and keeps the pH chemistry balanced in the body, and it perfects the body. There's only one way to live forever, and that is to save the seed. See, people who are having, are practicing lustful sex and the wrong kind of sex, who are actually ejaculating that fluid, that beautiful gift from Santa Claus, they are actually emptying their cerebrum. And this is why you see people, they dry up and they get old and die. It's because they've lost their fluids. If you keep the fluids flowing and you return them, as the scriptures say we have to tithe, tithing doesn't mean to give 10% of your money to your church. It means giving at least 10% of your fluids back to God, who is in heaven, head heaved up, which is the Lamb of God, Aries, cerebrum.
Good deal.
Wow.
Good deal. So the same thing that's taking place in the universe is taking place inside of us. So we are made in the image and likeness of the universe. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Our body is an ecliptic. The ecliptic always starts in Aries, 0 degrees. On the tropical, there's two zodiacs. There's the sidereal zodiac, which is the constellations themselves, and there's the ecliptic zodiac, which is the tropical zodiac. And here it is in our bodies. Aries, there's the ram of God standing on the head. There's the bull. The twins are on the shoulders. And so all the way, and there's Pisces at the feet. And that's the same as the two zodiacs in the sky. So the constellational sidereal zodiac, right ascension of meridian, always begins at 0 degrees Aries. And the equinox of March the 21st always begins at Aries on the tropical zodiac, and hence 0 degrees Aries will always be at March the 21st. It will never change. It will always be there. So the point is this: there are ecliptics and zodiacs throughout the whole universe. Everything is all about zodiacs, and ecliptics.
Good deal. So, Orlando, I know you said you had some questions that you wanted to present to the panel. I'll let you go ahead.
Man, that was first of all, man. Thank you so much, Mr. Santos, for shedding so much information and knowledge on breaking down the spiritual concepts of how everything is tied into who we are and what we are as a species. My question, I guess I can ask everybody. It's kind of off topic a little bit, and I guess I was trying to wait towards the end. I didn't really want to throw everybody off. Yeah. But my question, Mr. Santo, I guess as we're talking about astrology, are you familiar with this? And like I said, I haven't really studied a lot into it, but I hear it a lot, and I kind of looked at it a little bit. The planet Nibiru or Planet X, that's supposedly moving towards Earth. Are you familiar with this, or do you know anything about this?
Not really enough to be able to talk about it. I would know just as much as you do, which is a lot of, everyone is not really kept in the loop and have any accurate information about it. I believe that it's not a planet, because I don't believe that we live on a globe. We certainly do not live on a globe, upside down, spinning, rotating with gravity and all of that hocus pocus, shonky, Copernican rubbish. We don't live on a globe. We live on an extended horizontal plane. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bible, the Mayans, the Egyptians, they all concur. Up until 300 years ago, till Newton came along with his gravity, the world did not accept that we lived on a globe. It's only been with the Jesuit propaganda of the last 300 years that we've gullibly accepted that we're upside down spinning on a globe, which doesn't exist and never will exist. And so astrology only works when the Earth is a fixed, immovable, horizontal plane, which it is, which the scriptures concur. Revelation 20 verse 9 calls the Bible a platos in Greek. Platos means plate, plate means flat, and many scriptures do not use that word, but they use the word the breadth of the earth. So in other words, the earth is spread out like a carpet, like the Quran says. It teaches that the earth is like a carpet. God rolled it out like a carpet. Now, carpets don't have any curvature. Carpets are flat, carpets are straight, and that's exactly how the earth is. So Nibiru is not, there's no planets and comets and stuff that come from without the solar system penetrate the glass dome firmament vault of the heavens. This can't happen. We are protected on this earth from any so-called planets interrupting and causing havoc from outside of our solar system. This will never happen, and never has happened. And all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Upheavals and Earth. What's the word I'm looking for? They all occur from within the planet. So we are protected. The dome is another way of saying Dominus, which means Lord. And so Nibiru will be, most probably it will be a body that already exists in the solar system. There are many planets that we cannot see. The only ones we can see are the 7, but there are other planets that are not visible to our eyes, because our eyes, we can't see everything. And so planets are archangels. They are spirits. They are beings. When you look up at Venus, you're not seeing a terrestrial body. There's nothing solid in Venus at all. Neither is there in Mars nor the Moon. You know, they are sonoluminescent God beings, and they love us. They are our archons, our creators. They are Jehovah, the demiurgos, and they are not physical beings. You can't go with a rocket to the moon and land on the moon. It's clearly a ball of light. It has luminosity and sound to it. So it's a sonoluminescent body. In fact, science agrees that they are not terrestrial. They tell you, if you go to Wikipedia and you put Saturn and Jupiter, within the first sentence it will tell you Saturn is a gas giant. Gas giant. So they can't send probes to land on those planets because they are gas. They're sonoluminescent, singing archangelic beings, and they sing. That's what Pythagoras called them, the music of the spheres. They're not because they're round and balls and globes, but spheres of influence, spheres of dominion. They are realms. We have to pass through those realms to get back to source. When we return to God, we have to go up the 7 planets. We have to go through the moon first. The moon is the keeper of the first heaven. Then Mercury, then Venus. And those are the 3 girls below the sun. Then there's the sun in the middle, and then the 3 big boys above the sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. And Saturn's the last ring. When we escape the rings of Saturn at the Tropic of Capricorn, we escape this dome, this prison that the Demiurgos has built for us to teach us, to give us experience, to teach us in the ways of alchemy, to sublimate and refine and transmute and transcend our earthly nature and our earthly mind and intelligence. We can grow and be like God by climbing Jacob's ladder and climbing back through the conditions of the 7 planets, what we call planets. They're wandering stars. They're not planets.
Well, well, he pretty much answered all the questions in one. Like he really did. Like, no joke, y'all. I promise you. I was gonna ask him. Like I say, the first question was about planet Nibiru, and then from planet Nibiru, he went into how we're not on a globe, which is my next question. You know, does he think we're actually on a globe, or do we feel that we are on a physical plane in a dome having an experience? And then my question after that was going to be, what do you think created us? And then he answered that. So it was just like all 3 questions he just answered pretty much on a spiritual connection. It's like he just flowed, and all the questions pretty much that I had were answered.
Now that we on this topic, I want to know, Mr. Santos, do you think the sun and the moon is within the earth?
Definitely they are within the Earth's atmosphere. You can get a 50mm camera and you can focus on a mountain in the distance with the moon behind it, and they'll both be in focus. That proves that it's not 220,000 miles away. It proves it. Besides, air is not transparent. After 6,000 or 7,000 miles, you cannot see the sun. We see the sun above, we call it above our heads, because the sun is only a few thousand miles above our heads. When the sun is circling away from us and it appears to set and go below the horizon, which it doesn't, the reason why we get blacked out is because the air is not transparent. It has, the air is full of particles of dust, moisture. I mean, when you're driving your car and it's really foggy, man, you can't see 10 meters in front of you. It's all blocked. So there's always, no matter how dry the earth is, there's always moisture particles in the air. And so when the sun is beyond 6,000 or 7,000 miles away from us, we call that dark and it's setting. That's because the air has blocked the sun's light. The air does that. It's a curtain. It's like when if you put some transparent plastic here like this, you can see through it. But if you put another one and another one and another one, you put 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you will see that you will struggle to see through that plastic transparency. It'll become opaque. So the air becomes opaque with distance. Our eyes, we cannot see 220,000 miles away the moon with these eyes. The moon is in our atmosphere, and so is the sun. And the sun represents Radharani, the queen of heaven. It's not masculine, it's a female energy. And the moon is Krishna. And Saturn is the electrical force of the universe, because Saturn is responsible for these bodies, these physical bodies. It's through the power of Saturn that time occurs. Time, because it is time. Chronos, time, tempo, they're all words having to do with Saturn. So temporal conditioned existence, which is where we are. We're here in a temporal conditioned existence. When we leave these bodies, we will not have temporal bodies. We will have timeless, immortal, eternal bodies. We will not be conditioned. We will be unconditioned, unlimited, and unqualified. That's what God is, really, I should say. We will get more of that. We won't get all of it, but we will get more. But here we're conditioned. And so...
so you think that... So do you think that after we're prepared here and our light is strong enough, we'll go to another journey and we'll continue to go like that? Are we bodies? Well, this is what I'm saying. Are we bodies within bodies? Like, you know, we were born, like, this is I always give this example for everybody. You know, whenever the sperm goes into another body, it goes into that egg and it grows within that body, comes out of that body into another body. So do you think that we'll continue on in that process?
Yes, you will always carry with you the spiritual atoms of your soul. You have obviously physical atoms because you have an anatomy, a body, but you also have spiritual counterpart to this body and spiritual atoms. And as you build your soul, as you grow your torus field, your body's a torus field centered in the heart. And if you learn how to breathe properly and save your seed, not waste it like the prodigal son with wine drinkers and prostitutes, and we return back to heaven head heaved up, through breath, through yoga, meditation and breathing, you can actually grow the magnetic energy of your body because your torus field is magnetic. And so what's happening is you are growing your soul. So if you get distracted with money making, you know, buying and drinking, eating, buying and selling, eating and drinking, being married, building houses until the flood came and swept them all away, that distraction will be very costly because you haven't sublimated, you haven't increased. You see, when Jesus gave coins, when he gave a parable about a master who left his kingdom and he brought his 3 slaves forward and said, to you I give you 5 denarii, to you 3, and to you 1. And he says, goodbye, I'm going off the journey. And when I come back, I'll ask an accounting of you. When he came back, 2 of the slaves were unfaithful. And the first one, who had 1 denarii, he buried his, and he said, sorry, Lord, I buried my denarii because I was afraid of you, and I knew that you were exacting, and I didn't do anything with it. He said, right, you go to jail. Next one. The second one comes and said, I put my 3 denarii in the ground too. I did the same because I didn't know. No investment, no nothing. They didn't do anything with their talents. And so the third one comes, he says, look, I went to the banks and I made double. Here's 10 denarii. And he says, good, enter into the joy of my kingdom. Because what that's saying is that the Creator has vested us with love, intelligence, goodness, truth. But how many people love truth more than their own bodies, more than their own lives? How many people love other people deeply? How many people love themselves? We all usually hate ourselves. We've been taught to hate ourselves. And all the hate that we express to others, we have for ourselves. And so if we don't grow these, if we don't do anything with the denarii we've been given, we will not be able to ascend. We will not be able to grow our spiritual soul atoms, and we will not be able to take anything good into the next realm. We won't have the currency of the next realm, to pay the ferryman to get back home. we'll have to come back and reincarnate again and have another experience. But the ones who leave this plane, there's many places to go to. It's not just one heaven. We can go back to Vrindavan to be with Krishna forever and ever and ever in bliss and never come back here again. Or we can go to the moon. The rishis go to the moon. The philosophers go to the sun to become solar heroes. Some go to Saturn. There are many beings living in those 7 realms of the planets, the so-called planets. And they are happy there. They're living a spiritual life on spiritual planets. And then there are others who are miserable. There's 7 hellish planets below our feet. Under the earth, there are 7 planets that are hellish. And these are the extraterrestrials that come and interfere with our plane. They come through the North Pole and they sell us technology to control us. And we are being controlled by the Greys, the Anunnaki, the reptilians from under the earth. Extraterrestrials don't come from outer space. That's ridiculous. They come from under the earth. They come from inside the solar system.
So basically what you're saying is, like I said, I would have had another question and you went into that again. You know, I don't know how that's happening, but I was going to actually ask about reincarnation and what you feel about, you know, how that cycle works. And I actually made a video some time ago about how hell is not a place where you burn eternally, but it's more of a state of mind or being sent to a lower state of existence. But the reincarnation deal and actually more about the hells. I've actually heard that before. Somebody mentioned the hells, meaning you know, lower places beyond the earth. I've always thought earth was one of the lowest realms as in the physical reality. But could you kind of expound a little bit more on that, just about you know, the reincarnation and you know, how you basically live on this planet? What happens to you? Do you descend into a lower state, or you
hell is a place which is born of a condition. So it's first a condition. So if you are conditioned to be hellish, you will take hell with you wherever you go. So you'll see that there are murderers on this plane. There are killers. There are warmongering people, hurtful people, and pedophiles and all of these nasty things. And yet there are very good people on this plane. So the good people, there's 3 conditions. There's the condition of hell, there's the condition of purgatory, and there's the condition of heaven. And they all correspond to our chakras. So when you look at the heart chakra, it's green because it corresponds to the earth. The earth is green. When you look up, you see the sky is blue, and when you go up from the green chakra, you have a blue chakra. So this is the sky. And beyond the sky is the head, heaven heaved up. The dome of heaven is here. Every condition of heaven is in the head. Every condition of hell is below the heart chakra. Why are the chakras below us yellow, orange, and red? Because those are the colors of hell. Fire, burning. And so we are conditioned to have purgatory in the heart, where we get cleaned in the heart. The heart is the cleansing. You clean your heart. Or first we clean the heart of our temple. And so that's purgatory. Purge comes from fire. Pyro, pure, purge, purify, pyramid, P-Y-R, P-U-R is fire. And so purgatory, to purge, means to purge all of the lower chakra, which have to do with power, sex, and control. And when we get out of that consciousness, we are purged in heaven, heart. You see, head and heaven start with the same 3 letters. H-E-A. Head, H-E-A, heart. Because the lion and the lamb, when they lie together, Leo lion, Aries lamb, we bring the 2 heavens together and we now are in the condition of heaven. It's very hard it's very hard to have heaven on this earth at the moment because we have too many enemies. There's too many demons from under the earth. Our earthly plane has suffered a demon infestation.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. And you know, it's amazing, and I'm trying to speak. I'm actually live right now as well, as I'm also live with you guys. But it's amazing because speaking from experience, that a lot of this information, before I actually started researching it, I would always feel it, and so it behooved me to move over into actually, you know, researching some of this stuff to figure out why I was feeling the way I was feeling and why I felt like perhaps I have it wrong, or, you know, maybe I should, you know, go a little bit more into what's going on. And so then my last question, Brother Pat, I'm sorry. I like I said, he's pretty much been answering everything without me asking me questions at one time. But the next question is, and I pose this to anybody, would be if a person has hellish ways, you know, they have no true love, or they've not learned how to cultivate their true love, their inner being of love. Would they be able to come out of this particular mindset or this particular state of being with, like you say, meditation and you know, perhaps trying to change, you know, what they're feeling about themselves?
Is that to me?
Yes. Oh, I open up for everybody, but you know, whoever wants to answer, I mean, it's fine. It's totally up to you all. So yeah, Santos, I'll start with you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it takes a lot of work. If one is prepared to do the work, the good work, alchemical work, the magnum opus, then the body and the spirit will respond. We will improve, we will transmute, we will sublimate. It takes work. That's all it takes.
Right. And a physical change, a morph within one's mind's eye, or within one's mind, meaning that they change the way they talk. Is this all a part of that change? The way they talk, the way they walk, the way they look at people, the way they treat people, the way they look at life, the way everything just evolves around them. Is that what that change looks like?
Well, I think, yeah, you have to use your will. You have a will that you have to use. I mean, you have to want to do these things. You know, a lot of people, they do certain things and they don't know they're the opposition. You know, they're unknowingly knowing, you know, I mean, doing these things. So, you know, you have to, something has to, within you has to want this. You know, so yeah, all these things will take place. You have to do something, you know, in order to begin to receive this, because doing it is going to allow you to, you know, open up within. You know, you're doing something, taking action. You know, so yeah. That's it, Orlando. Any more questions for you or no? Okay, cool.
I think everybody pretty much, yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So, Antoinette?
Hey, it's my turn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do have one question. Santos, in regards to like Judgment Day and the end of the world, how have we possibly misunderstood that in reading ancient books in a literal fashion? And how does it connect with astrology as far as Judgment Day and the end of the world?
Yeah, well, the Bible is first and foremostly a book of truth, not a book of facts. So the exegesis and interpretation that is implied, employed in church world, churchianity, Christendom, is all about looking for facts and historical realities which don't exist. And yet, indirectly, they do point to cycles and ends of cycles, Armageddons and new regrowths and the return of Christ, the coming, the returning, and all of this. It's all dealing with the ecliptic of the zodiac. It comes and it returns. And Christ is like Aquarius And when he returns, it's the second coming. And so it's all about great truths. So when the Bible talks about Armageddon coming to destroy the evil ones and to start paradise and everything like that, this is just natural cycles. It's not specifically talking about any event that is factual at all whatsoever. So when we're reading about Jesus in the Bible, it's ridiculous to think of a historical, factual individual, because that never happened and it never will. Not on this earth. It may have happened in someone's fantasy, but the Jesus of the gospel is a true living being. It's not a factual. God doesn't send his son to come onto this earth to die and go through all that drama and all of that. This is all the son dying on the ecliptic, getting crucified at the solstices and the equinoxes, the 4 points, the cardinal points of the ecliptic. And so Jesus is mostly represented via the sun and the moon. And the sun is the Saviour, rises every day, the risen Saviour. You know, and the sun is the life giver. It's the soul of the universe and gives us soul and life and vitality. And so when you're looking and when you're reading the scriptures, remember what it says in Hebrews that the spirit of the word vivifies, but the letter of the word destroys. So people who are looking for the letter of the word, for dogma and doctrine and fact in the scriptures, they will be looking forever. They will be arguing over those facts forever, and they will be murdering each other about those facts forever. Hence Jesus says, in that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, expel demons in your name, perform many powerful works in your name? And yet he says, in that day I will say to them, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. I never knew you. And so why? Well, because, you know, the Mormons are killing the Seventh-day Adventists for their Jesus because their Jesus drinks coffee or doesn't drink coffee. And the Jehovah's Witness one doesn't drink wine or accept blood transfusions. The Catholic one is a tax collector and hangs out with tax collectors and prostitutes or whatever. There's so many factual Jesus. There's 30,000 literalists, Christian denominations registered, and they all believe in a factual Jesus, and they all describe him differently. He's black. He's white. He's a Jew. He's an Aryan. It's the sun, because the sun is black. There's a black sun in the solar system, which is probably what Nibiru is. Yeah. And so when every 3,600 years when Nibiru returns, it's probably just the black sun that we can see. Because sometimes we can't see the planets. There was a time when the moon was not visible to humans. And so humans thought there wasn't a moon. It's like when Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781 and called it Herschel, and then they renamed it Uranus. We couldn't see it. So it disappeared for a couple of thousand years, and then it returned. That's like the Christ returning. It returns to our senses. It returns to our knowledge base. But it doesn't mean it wasn't already there. Jesus is always in our souls. We will all... The truth about Jesus in the gospel is the greatest truth known to man, and we should learn it correctly. We should understand the Christian Science and Islamic and Hindu, and they're all saying the same thing. So when I say I would like an apple in English, and yo quisiera una manzana in Spanish, and vorrei una mela in Italian, I've just said the same thing in 3 languages. Exactly the same thing. So the Hindus are saying exactly the same thing about their Krishna as the Christians are saying about their Christos, and the the Egyptians about their Christus. And so what is it? Well, it's the Christ energy of the universe. It's magnetism and dielectricity and electricity, the 3 field modalities of the universe, outside of which nothing exists. So God is a trinity: dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity. And those are not blind forces. Those are not blind lights. God is light. They are light. You see, dielectricity is black light, counterspatial. Magnetism is white light, the force of the universe, it's force and motion. And electricity is red and blue. And red and blue, you'll see everywhere. The Republicans are red, the Democrats are blue. Red shift, blue shift. Red tap, blue tap, hot and cold. You know, violets, roses are red, violets are blue. Everything in the physical world is electrical and composed by red and blue light. Everything spiritual is magnetic, white light. And everything source, the creator, God, Krishna, is black light. And we will go back one day to the black light, not the white light. You don't want to go to the white light when you die. You want to go to the black light. That's your true home.
Why do you say that, Santos? Why is that?
That's very interesting.
Well, because dielectricity is the ether. There are five conditions or five ethereal field modalities. Okay, there's ether, then there's fire, air, water, earth. Right? Earth is solid, water is liquid, air is gas, fire is plasma radiance, and ether is black light. It's the field. So like when you throw a stone in a quiet pond, it has the surface of the pond is like a field. If you throw a little stone in there, what happens now is a field perturbation. So black light is the source and the cause of everything that you see with your eyes in the universe. It is the field. It is the ether. And when magnetic white light, you see the yin and the yang, the black and the white yin and yang, which is, see the red and blue light? That's the physical world. That's the South Korean flag. This yin and yang, the original one, is black and white. And what that is in the torus field, there are two principles going on. There is voidance and countervoidance. Spatial, counterspatial. White light is spatial. She is feminine. She is the queen of heaven. She's pure because white light does not vibrate. It doesn't have any transverse components, vertical components to it. Electricity, red and blue, does this. So the wave that vibrates, that energy is electrical, matter, earthy, terrestrial, physical. Electricity is physical. Magnetic is a transverse wave. It pulses horizontally. So you can't see white light. There's no vibration. There's a pulse. Rarefaction, compression. Rarefaction is red. Compression is blue. So what we have is spiritual energy, which is black and white light. And we have physical energy, which is red and blue light. One light is divine, one light is mundane. One is lux, one is lumen. Lumen is the false light. The red and blue light, electrical light, that's the false light. Do not be deceived by the false light, the materialist philosophers like Aristotle. We need to pay attention to the spiritual philosophers, Philo, Plato, Pythagoras, Iamblichus, Porphyry, Plotinus, Plutarch. We have, in the West, we have the greatest spiritual wisdom, but the problem is it's polluted by materialist science like Aristotle and Descartes and all of these materialists who are funded by the oligarchs to teach pseudoscience. Einstein, Newton, these guys are Copernicus, Kepler. These guys were materialists. They only see red and blue light. Red, left brain, blue, right brain. When we go in the middle, in the corpus callosum, we find the white light and the black light. And that's where our home is.
That's very. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Pat.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's interesting. I actually went to school for a while for audio, video, and technology, so I kind of studied a little bit of that. And me and my wife, we did like a little project, and I was showing her that I took some water, just some pure water, and I put it in a little plastic cup, and I put it on top of a speaker, and I was trying to show her, how all these different pitches and how they change within the water, not on the surface. If you just look at underneath, you'll see how it begins to change shapes and different forms just by the pitches that the water is hearing. And so I oftentimes kind of utilize that to try to get them to understand that what we listen to also affects us, how we feel about material wealth, money, cars, clothes. It's really all in the psyche. And I find that very interesting that you mentioned the darkness and how going back to the darkness in order to really see the true creator, the divine creator. But yeah, that's all I have. Can't you?
Antoinette?
Yeah, the creator is black light. Black light is rest. That's why we will inherit God's rest one day. Remember, God rested on the seventh day. That's Saturday. Saturn is black. So we shouldn't be resting on Sunday. That's white light. The sun is magnetic. It's spatial. It's feminine. It's motion. We don't want to be in the world of motion. We want to be resting. We need to rest. We need to find rest in our hearts, in our minds. In the world out there, the secular world, they want you to get a job, a career, get busy, climb that ladder, and learn how to kill while you smile. Thank you, John Lennon.
So everything's been flipped upside down, basically.
Everything is upside down. They sell you that the white light is where you go. You've got to go to the white light. Even that's a lie. It's not. It's too powerful. The white light is force. There's no force in black light. Nothing at all.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There is only unconditioned intelligence, unconditioned light, unqualified light, immortality, omnipresence. Black light is it's God. It's omnipresent, it's omniscient, and it's omnipotent. That's black light. Yeah. It's everywhere. It's the resting light of the universe. Everything must be rested. Every torus field in the center of it is rest. In your body, the rest is in your heart. So when you learn how to breathe with your heart, you're actually finding rest. When you're meditating and you see blackness, that's rest.
How does the Bible say, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the faces of the water in Genesis? So that ties right into how blackness is, or darkness is God, or God's consciousness, or the Spirit of God actually existing within darkness. In order to get to God, you must go through the darkness.
Good. The Spirit of God is the white light because it's the force. There's only one force in the universe. Only one force in the universe. Magnetism. It's a spiritual force. But we see it as electricity because we only feel solid things, liquid things. So we relate to it as red and blue electrical material force. But really, in the middle of that vibrating transverse wave is the magnetic wave centering it. It's forcing it. It's the white light that is forcing it to do this. But behind that white light, which is force, is rest. Everything comes from rest. Everything comes from the nothing, from the void. And when that void is perturbed by God's thoughts, God says, I'm kind of bored being infinite in wisdom and omniscient and omnipotent. I want to self-create and I want to create little godlets. Then we come into being. And he gives us soul, and we get to keep that soul and individuality for all of eternity, never to lose it ever again. And what one day we will experience is inconceivable oneness with difference. That's the highest doctrine that you will learn in the mystery schools. You will never learn anything more beautiful than that sentence. that you will be one day inconceivably one with God with difference. And that difference is your individuality. You will keep it.
That's amazing.
You will not go into the void like the Buddhists say, and you will lose, you'll be a nihilist. You go back into the nil and you sacrifice your soul, your intelligence, your mind, your ego, and you give it over and you merge with the white light of God. That's what the Mayavadis teach. That's called going to Brahmajyoti, the Brahmajyota or the Brahmananda. Now, it's fine. Some people want to go there. They want to go because their love for God is neutral. They don't have anything but neutral love for God. So they will go and they will commit spiritual suicide and live in the effulgence of the white light of the Creator forever if they want to. But I'm preparing to and hoping to go beyond the white light, beyond the void and the nil, the nihilistic Buddhist type concept, and I want to go to be with persons, to have activity. I don't want to go to a place where there's no activity. I want to have transcendental activity. So there's two kinds of activity. There's material activity, which is chasing after the wind, and there's transcendental activity, which we can do forever if we choose to go back to source.
Good deal. Good deal. Antoinette, did you have another question?
No, that's all. Thank you.
That was it? Okay. Mr. Santos, back to the astrology and numerology, I want to know about the double numbers. What do you think the double numbers mean? Like whenever somebody, they say, you know, you were born April the 18th, 19, such and such, and your number is a double number. Do you believe this to be true?
Yeah. Numbers are archetypes. They are gods, archangels, angels. They are angles. An angle is an angel. Light always penetrates the dome through an angle. When you see the sun, you see the sun's rays. They diverge like this, don't they? See, if the sun was 93 million miles away, the rays would come straight like that, parallel. There would only be parallel waves. But it doesn't. The sun's waves come to us like this, divergent, because the sun is local. And those angles, they are angel. Light is angelic. And so the numbers that compose these angles and make the angles, they are all divine. Usually they're all golden section numbers, the Fibonacci ratio, 1.618. Or the unified field theory of Ken Wheeler is the formula is not Einstein's M equals M equals E squared. What is it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not.
MC squared.
Yeah, MC squared. That's a crock. The real, the only formula you need to remember is 1/5 to the power of -3. And that's the true formula, which Ken Wheeler, who is the only man on the planet in history that can explain magnetism perfectly. You can check out his work on his YouTube channel, Theoria Apotheosis, and you will see that he's got the formula tattooed on his hand. It's 1/5 to the power of -3. And basically what that teaches you is that the torus field, the white light, which grows at the Fibonacci ratio, the golden section, all those lines of force, they all are at an angle of in a circular model, 135.7. That's the grand unified theory, if you want it. 1/5 to the power of -3. There's nothing else you will need to know. That's it. That's how nature unfurls, always. Always. There is nothing but torus fields throughout the universe. Everything is donut energy. Donuts everywhere. Add-on nuts. Add-on. All is atom. All is Adam, Adonis, Adonai, Dominus. All these atomic names is what basically, even our language is etymology. When we study words, why are we studying atoms? Etymology. Because everything is atum. The Egyptians said that. All is atum. Your body is atum. The ecliptic is atum. The world is atum. Everything is atum. It's all torus fields, donuts. And how do you model the donut? Astrology. Everything starts at Aries. Everything finishes at Pisces. There's no other more sublime truths. There is no other truth.
Good deal. Okay, so I'm gonna change the subject a little bit. You know, we see this on this earth. We see the land divided. Do you actually think the land was together at one point?
Possibly. But see, again, if we have such a thing as continental shift, and if we're living on a globe and the equator is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, all the continents would be at the equator, because that's where all the centrifugal thrust is. So if we were living on a globe, because of continental drift, all the continents, all of them, Australia would be at the equator right now. So that shows we don't live on a globe. And there's no such thing as Humpty Dumpty gravity. It's dielectric acceleration. That's what gravity should be called. I'm not against the gravity. It's a great word. What is grave is heavy. Levity, what is leve is light. What is grave is heavy. So my body will gravitate downwards because it's dense. It's more dense than the earth. But it's not gravity, because gravity does not exist. It's not an autonomous field modality. What it should be called is incoherent dielectric voidance. And so, yes, it's possible that all the lands were connected and then they spread out on the flat earth. See, there's more lands beyond Antarctica. Antarctica is a ring. It's the Antarctic ring. Beyond that, there are many. Why do you think John Kerry, during the elections, flew to Antarctica? Why do you think the Pope went to Antarctica last year, and the Queen and Prince Philip and all of these high oligarchic controlling families? Because that's their escape route when the shit goes down, when they think they're going to bring, you know, a meltdown, an economical and political meltdown, which they're not going to because they've been defeated. But they know why they're guarding Antarctica, because beyond that there are friendlier peoples, much more intelligent and much more advanced technologically. And so when we talk about Atlantis sinking, well, Atlantis was another world condition, and it's clear to me where Atlantis is. It's the 7 planets below the Earth, because they're all called Atlantis. That's their names. I'll get you the names of the
Okay.
I'll get you the names of the 7, and I'll have to go in about 10 minutes, but I'll just finish with the names of the 7 subterranean planets, and you see for yourself if you can identify where Atlantis is.
Okay. Yeah.
It sank because they sank below the Earth. Because that's the Hebrews teach us that Sheol is under our feet, under the earth, because that's where it is. And Hades, according to the Greeks, and the Latins call it infer, infernal. Well, infer simply means under your feet. That's what a grave is. It's an infernal place. You go when you die, you go to the grave because it's under your feet. So let's have a look at the names, shall we? And
while you're looking up the names, I just want to say real quick, I'm actually live on my Facebook, and we had a few questions, but I'm going to wait before I ask any of those questions, because I want us to finish the actual dialogue. But a few questions people were interested in. They're actually really enjoying the information, so thanks again for everybody jumping in.
Okay, so under our Earth, which is called Jambudweep or Bhumandala, not Buloka, Bhumandala. Mandala is it's a flat disc, a mandala. You can have a look at the color chakra, and all the mandalas, they're all basically just flat discs, because that's what the scriptures tell us, and all the ancients taught and believed up until a couple of hundred years ago. Newton, Copernicus, these morons. But under the flat disk Earth, we have these 7 planets: Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rashatala, and Patala. Patala is called hell. It's the lowest. But if you're smart and intelligent, you will already have found Atlantis. Because in Latin and in the ancient languages, Atlantis was Atalante. Atala. I'll show you that. Hang on.
Atlanta, yeah.
Atlanta.
That's why every time I moved to Atlanta, I had some kind of spiritual thing that happened to me. Every time I moved there like 3 or 4 times, and every time I moved there, I had some type of spiritual encounter in my life. Every single time.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've been here for a week.
Yes, Atlantis. It will carry that energy of ancient Atlantis. It will. It definitely will. And so this is the first island, planet under our feet, Atala. Now, can you see Italia? Italy. Italy is nothing other than the same word for Atlantis. This is how we say Atlantis in Italian. Atalante. Italia, Atalante. What is going on is this Atala, this island that sank, you'll find that the people below us, the inhabitants of the 7 planets below us, they are far more advanced technologically than we are. They are the ones who sell us all of this amazing technology that we have now. We since 1914, since the world wars, we have increased exponentially technologically, and that is because of contact with extraterrestrials and their advanced technology. And so even the governments that classify this information, they will leak this out, that they are getting help from more advanced civilizations. Well, they are the people below us who are very interested in controlling our Earth. It is in their interest to control the politics on this planet. And they do, rest assured.
Okay. Good deal. So, Sheiks.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you have any questions or anything that you wanted to ask?
Just I have a question for Santo. Just about like existence, like people or some kind of beings existing underneath our feet. I watched something on the Discovery Channel once before, and they were talking about different like underground cities in Mexico and just like different civilizations. And I don't know, I just was kind of wondering like what kind of connection do you think that has with everything?
Hang on, I heard the question. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, or any of y'all, like, y'all, because I went to a place before, and they had a lot of underground stuff going on, and I just really, was unaware that there was so much underground activity going on around us or under us.
Yeah, look, there's quite a bit of activity under our feet, and this is why people are really confused about our cosmology. They don't understand how the Earth really is. And so you've got people who talk about hollow Earth, right, and how Admiral Byrd penetrated the North Pole and went into the North Pole, and he went in and he saw another sun under the Earth, and he went a few thousand miles inside the North Pole, and he wrote about this. And in the 1920s, he actually published his findings. And then, of course, the Rockefeller funded educational system went about and destroyed those books. But Admiral Byrd, in his early years, was very, very honest. And yes, he was a Freemason, and he was dishonest about Antarctica, but about the Arctic Circle, he was very honest. In his early days, he was very honest, and he did find peoples there, and he found a big hole in the North Pole, and he flew his plane into there. He actually voyaged. And then there's an Australian explorer called Sir Captain George Wilkins, who actually went 5,000 miles beyond the Antarctic Circle. He went and he recorded his findings, and he found lands previously unknown to our civilization. So he did go beyond that very, very cruel, cold and inhospitable Antarctic ring. And he actually penetrated, and he wrote about his findings too. And he and his crew, they went 5,000 miles beyond what we call the South Pole.
Mm.
Yeah, and so, but it's my theory that you can only find other lands beyond Antarctica horizontally, but at the North Pole you can go up and down. I think in the Arctic Circle, they actually found a portal to go down to the 7 subterranean planets, the 7 subterranean realms, and they've actually even found a way of going upward. And possibly it's the way up and out. Yeah, in the North Pole. The North Pole is definitely much more life hospitable than the South Pole. There's no life in Antarctica, none. There's nothing at all. There's no plants, there's nothing. No plants, no animals. Whereas in the same latitudes in the northern so-called inner ring, the so-called northern hemisphere, there's an abundance of life, there's an abundance of plants, totally different. So we can't be living on a globe for that very reason alone. Just the fact that Antarctica, the South Pole is so cruel and inhospitable to life, and whereas the North Pole is full of life. Mm. So it's not a globe, it's not a Santa ball. You know, the globe is as true as real as Santa Claus, really. They both have the same veracity about them. They're both imaginary. So that time that we got into the true science, there's only one true science, and that is the natural science, studying dielectricity, magnetism, and electricity. And there's only one way to do it properly, astrology. That's it. So welcome to Syncretism. It's back and it's here to stay, and I will make sure of that. The last time we snuffed out Syncretism was in the Renaissance. Marsilio Ficino, Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, and all of these guys. And then before that was the Hellenic period, when Syncretism flourished on the planet. And Justinian the Emperor, he closed the Neoplatonic syncretic schools by edict in the year 537. So there was really 1,000 years of dark ages, no syncretism. Then came the Renaissance, and then the Jesuits started right at the end of the Renaissance in 1543. That's when the globe started. Copernicus published his globe in 1533. 2 years prior, Ignatius Loyola founded the Jesuits, who took over from the Inquisitional Dominicans. And do I need to say any more? So within 2 years, the Renaissance spiritual revival flourishing was snuffed out, and now we have syncretism again. So syncretism will destroy all foolish pseudoscience buffoonery, and it will be re-established. You'll see within within a decade or two, syncretism will be the only science that everyone around the globe, around the planet will be studying. Globalism's dead. The globalists are the Jesuits. They started the globe in the 1500s, and they started their model of global economy, global politics, and one world global religion, which they intended to be Catholicism. So the globe globalism depends on the globe, and both are being smashed at the same time. There's millions of people around the earth now who are flat earthers and geocentric cosmologists, and they've abandoned the globe. So the globe is being smashed, and so is the religion, the political and economical model of globalism as we speak. George Soros, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Pope, the communists, the Marxists, the leftists, the Democrats, the criminals, the pedophiles, they're being smashed. They are the globalists. There's no globe, doesn't exist.
So you said the lands, if they were connected, they would be all close to the equator. Is that correct? Or going this way or going horizontally?
Well, think about it. If I get a ball, here's a papaya, pawpaw. So let's be global, shall we? Let's be a globe-tard. Let's go and join the... I'm sorry that I'm speaking like that, because a lot of people that are watching are probably still believers of the globe, but they'll find one day that, as I was, they're just globe-tards. There's no truth in it at all. So if there was one continental Pangea landmass once upon a time, and this equator is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, which means here will be 900, here will be 800, 700, 500, and here, basically, you'll just be turning, if you're at the North Pole, you'll just be turning like this, anti-clockwise, and it will take you 24 hours to do one turn. That's how slow it will be at the North Pole. It has to be. Because the North Pole can't be going like this at 1,000 miles an hour. You see how absurd it is? And yet explorers have gone to the North Pole supposedly, or they've gone high up in latitude, 80 degrees, you know, almost 90 degrees latitude, and they're not heavier than they are in Ecuador. I've been to Ecuador. I've been to the equator. I didn't fly off because of that 1,000 mile an hour thrust. If you turn this around, if you turn any ball at around 1,000 miles an hour and you wet it, you will see that the water will spit from the equator, spit out centrifugally at a vicious speed. So if Australia is supposedly down here, and this is here, it's only spinning it at 500 miles an hour, and here is 1,020 miles an hour, and this is a continental drifting plate, well then Australia could be here. And so should Africa and Europe and all the countries. That's just proof that we don't live on a Humpty Dumpty ball.
All right, so we're not. So you're saying we're not spinning. The Earth is not spinning.
The Earth is stationary,
right,
and immovable. We have plenty of real scientific experiments that prove that. If you've got a pen and paper, jot down Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale experiment.
Could you say that again?
Michelson-Morley, that's two gentlemen. One is Michelson, one is Morley. And then Michelson repeated the experiment years later after Einstein corrected his general relativity to special relativity. Then Michelson hooked up with Gale, and the Michelson-Gale experiment counteracts Einstein's buffoonery of relative and general relativity. I forget which way it is. I think general relativity corrected his special relativity, or the other way around. Anyway, the fact is that Einstein and the oligarchs and the controllers of the world, they came out with this stupid special theory, relativity theory, to counteract Michelson-Morley's experiments, which prove that the Earth is stationary. It does not move. It does not move. What moves is the ether and the stars above us and the planets. They do one turn around us every day, like the Srimad Bhagavatam tells us. It's like a chandelier above our heads. And so think about it. If you're over here in the northern hemisphere, and there's New York, and here's Paris in Europe, and there's New York. So here's Paris, and here's New York. How long does it take to fly from Paris to New York? 10 hours. Let's say 10 hours, okay? Let's not be too specific. And then when you go from New York back to Paris, it's still 10 hours. Well, hang on a minute. Let's think about this, eh? Let's have a little thinky poo. So you're on a Santa ball with Santa Claus flying from Santa Claus, Paris to Humpty Dumpty, New York. And when you're flying westwardly, so you're going from Paris, you're going west, aren't you? You're going west to New York, 10-hour journey. Well, isn't the Earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and most of your jets do only 600 miles an hour? So how in the hell do you actually arrive in New York if you leave? You should never, ever, ever, ever reach New York from Paris, because you're going west. And the Earth is way faster spinning than any jets go, unless it's a Mark 1 or Mark 2 or a Concorde. But you're just in a 747 Boeing. Now, so you go that way, and then you return in the evening. You had your appointment in Paris, Humpty Dumpty Paris. Then you're going back to Santa Claus, New York. And this time, the Earth is spinning toward you at 1,000 miles an hour, and it still takes you 10 hours to get there. Now, most buffoons will say, oh, well, yeah, but the atmosphere is dragged along. And no, if you're going west and the spin is going against you at 1,000 miles an hour, you will never, ever reach your destination. And if you're flying east, all you have to do is hover and wait for Humpty Dumpty New York to come to you. I mean, this is just so logical. There's many other ways that I can smash the globe to Humpty Dumpty bits, but it's all about time, man. I can give you 1,000 endless truths and evidences and proofs that we do not live on a spinning body. For a start, there's 4 movements, isn't there? Let's have a look at the 4 movements, and I'll finish with that. I really will have to finish because I have to go and be somewhere. So let's have a look. So the Earth is rotating at 1,000 miles an hour. Rotation. 66,000 miles orbit around the sun. 550,000 miles an hour, our sun is hurtling. That's 550,000 miles an hour, guys, that the sun is hurtling through space. And then there's 670 million miles an hour that our galaxy is flying through space. So there's 4 motions that we're supposed to be. Go outside for a walk one quiet day in the forest and feel if your feet are trembling under your feet. Feel if there's any, can you feel any movement at all apart from earthquakes? Nothing. There is no movement. The Earth does not move.
Okay. So you're saying for a continental drift, the Earth has to rotate?
That's right. Yeah. No. Continental drift is occurring on a plane. The continents do move.
Right.
But they're floating. The whole earth is floating on water.
Right.
It's a plane of water. As the scriptures say, you said it before, God's Spirit there was a darkness, and God's Spirit was working on the waters. So God said he placed the earth in between the waters below and the waters above. When you look up at the blue sky, it's blue because of water. Hydrogen. It's a hydrogen universe. The sun is charged by water. The sun is made of hydrogen. It is water. The effect is hot. It's not burning. It's not burning. The sun is cool. Check out the work of Eric Dollard. Genius. Ken Wheeler. Check out Pier Luigi Igina, an Italian guy who's used to work with Marconi, who's now passed away, but he talks about the sun and its magnetic energy. The sun is empty. It's empty. It's not even, it's like a hologram. It's not even a body that is in that, it's not even where it is. It appears to be where it is. It's an appearance. So when the Lord, the Son, appears every day, it's our risen Saviour. It's the Christ that saves us, because as the sun lifts up water molecules, as they evaporate, so does the sun lift souls. Our souls are being lifted and drawn into the sun, so that the sun, the portal, can take us to the higher realms. The sun is lifting water, it's lifting souls, it's lifting plants, it is lifting energy from the earth plane unto itself. Therefore, it is the saviour and mediator of the universe. The sun is the mediator. That's why we call Jesus the mediator, the redeemer, the saviour, the risen saviour. It's the sun.
So
when the sun is an intelligent being.
So when the Bible says, when John the Baptist says, I must descend for you so you can ascend, is that talking about the moon and the sun?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's talking about this. Let's do a quick liturgical exercise, shall we? When you put the equator in and the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, we have two tropics, and they are 23.5 degrees removed from the equator. So we have the ecliptic of the sun. Every year the sun does that. Starts here on the equinox, March the 21st. And you've got spring. Then on June the 21st, you've got the solstice, longest day of the year. Then September 23rd, you've got the other equinox. And then over here, December the 21st, you've got the solstice. Well, John the Baptist and Jesus are 6 months apart from each other. Elizabeth had John the Baptist, and Mary went to visit Elizabeth, and John was bouncing around because he was happy that Mary came, and he could feel that Mary had God, the Son of God, in her womb. So they both, this is recounted in the book of Matthew, I think, or Luke, right? So, and then John grows up and he baptizes Jesus, and he says, he will go on increasing and I will go on decreasing. Well, if the 25th of December is the birthday of Jesus, well then the 24th of June, so let's do it like this. So there's the 25th of December here, just 3 days after the solstice. The 24th of June, the birthday of St. John the Baptist, is 6 month older cousin, because there's 6 months between the two tropics. See, Cancer, the sign of Cancer is here, and the sign of Capricorn is here. Jesus is born in Capricorn. He is the sacrificial goat of the zodiac. The sun is always born on 25th of December every year, because it has to start climbing here. So he will go on increasing, and the summer solstice will go on decreasing. It's science. It's all science. There's nothing literal. There's nothing factual in the Bible. Whatever is factual can be gleaned from whatever is transcendental as a side effect, as an artifact of the sublime truths which are in the scriptures, not the ordinary mundane facts. There are no facts in the scriptures. They're not books of facts. You'll get facts in your car manual, your tractor manual, and those are facts, and they are also true. But truths are not facts necessarily. So there you go.
Good deal, Santos. I appreciate that, man. I know you said you had to go. I have one question for you. In order for everybody to be able to come together, do you think, and since I see the lands as divided, do you think that everyone has to be at a certain area in order to, kind of ascend within?
Some areas are more conducive to spiritual growth, and some are not. But it's an individual thing. I can't say to you, pick up and move to India and you'll be spiritual. You might actually digress in your spirituality. You might actually not progress if you go to India, because astrologically, India is not the most conducive place for you to grow spiritually. You have to look at your chart, and you have to get a feeling for it yourself. You have to perhaps visit some place, stay there for a while, at least a couple of weeks, and then feel that energy. But definitely, if you're stagnant where you're living at the moment, move, and you will find better stars to live under. You will.
Good deal. I appreciate it.
So Santos, I know you have to leave, and you've been sharing so much, and I really appreciate it. And I was just wondering, why did you go to Ecuador?
I went there in 2013 to do a documentary, and it was all paid for by the people there who invited me. And I was there for a month, and I did 8 Syncretism presentations, 5 in Spanish and 3 in English. And most of those are not even online yet. So the documentary has not been produced. I was supposed to be making a documentary called Syncretism, the Science of Light. I did do 8 presentations, but they haven't been released. So I don't know. I think the reason being is just lots of problems. Everyone has problems. People have health problems, financial problems, economical problems, logistic problems. And so it was a good trip, and I learnt a lot. I visited all the sacred sites, and I spoke to a lot of the indigenous priests. And what I found was that what they are teaching, what the Incas were teaching there in Ecuador, is exactly what I'm teaching. There's no difference. I spent hours and hours speaking at length to the high priest of the Temple of the Sun in Quito on the equator. And we filmed my conversation with him. It hasn't been released yet, but we filmed my conversation with him. And then we went to another place called there's Quito, Vilcabamba. Yeah, at Vilcabamba, I also went to the Temple of the Sun, and I spoke with the people there, and we filmed that. And we also found that all they pay attention to is the 4 tropical points. In fact, I'll show you that quickly. This is the calendar that I brought back from Ecuador, and this is the 4 tropical points. And in the temples, all they focused on was March the 21st, June the 21st, where the sunset is September the 23rd, the equinox. So you have your 2 equinoxes, and the solstices are upright vertical. And that's this. This is the wisdom that exists everywhere. I mean, this is the Incans, okay? And this is basically spring, summer, autumn, winter. It's the same ecliptic. There's only this science, because the universe only knows how to produce phenomena through divergent magnetic force, energy, radiance. Magnetism is responsible for everything. Everything is magnetic. It all comes from the mother, magnetism, and the father, dielectricity. And this is the science of it. Astrology just teaches how nature works. It's alchemy. It's everything. All the sciences are here. Nothing is missing. That's why I teach, which means syncretism, which has a sister called synchronicity. Syncretism is before synchronicity, because what is synchronous is synchronous in time. Chronos is time. So it happens synchronously in time. So, but syncretism is where you sync things up in your head. It's got nothing to do with time. Syncretism is the art of integrating and synthesizing. Here you analyze. Here you syncretize. You synthesize. Same word. Synthesize, syncretize, it's the same word. And so syncretism is the science, the underlying science of all sciences that's always been there, that analysts do not pick up because they're too busy, noisy, analyzing with their left brains. Their red, masculine thinking process. They don't stop to this, they don't listen to the stillness of the right side. The intuition's here. Here is intuition in the right hemisphere. This is left of Eden, east of Eden. When you go east, you go right. When you go west, you go left. Lefting is dying. Westing is dying. Righting is to write things. And that's in the east. The east is here in the right hemisphere. And this is synthesizing, analyzing. So both of them are useful. Both of them are necessary. But 99% of all your zombies out there who are swine eaters and dog eaters and seed wasters, they can't synthesize. They do not have this ability. They are not in the higher mind. They are in the lower mind, analyzing, clever, technological. They know how to get a job and succeed. They know nothing of spirit. They know nothing of natural science. Nothing. They are detached. Thanks, guys. I can join you another time, anytime. Just invite me, and I'll.
How do we stay in touch?
Thank you.
As you've done via email.
By email? You have his email?
Yes.
Santos, I really appreciate you joining the panel. I appreciate Orlando, Sheiks, and Antoinette for joining the panel. We had a great discussion. And as I always say, be enlightened. Y'all have a good night.
You too.